Hi, thank you so much for joining me again on my channel. I would like to share a couple of things that have been happening lately. For various reasons I haven't been posting many videos. I've had some health issues. It's nothing too bad, but it's just been causing me a couple of problems. So yeah, that's the reason why I haven't been posting on YouTube as much. If you've been following me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, you've seen probably images and short posts about what's been going on in my life. But yeah, I thought it's a good idea today to film a video. I'm feeling a little bit better, and yeah, to film a video and update you on a few things. So this video might be a bit long because I've got several things to talk about, but hopefully it won't be too long that I bore you. So in the last few weeks I've read not too many books, but the ones I've read, the stories I've read, have absolutely enriched my life and made it better. And as I was saying, I've been feeling a bit ill, so these books have certainly improved my life and made me a bit more, it just made me feel a bit better reading them. And I'll share them one by one. There are not many, I've read only a few as mentioned, but yeah, really wonderful books. I'll begin with Sweet Sorrow, which I mentioned in a previous video on my channel. Briefly I mentioned it. So Sweet Sorrow by David Nicholls. I've been to the book signing a day before the official launch of the book. I think it was 10th of July. The book was officially published on the 11th of July. And we went somewhere near Manchester, actually near Stockport, and it was like a signed event. I got to meet Mr. David Nicholls, which was really lovely. I'll put a picture on the screen from the event. And yeah, when I went there I hadn't read the book because it wasn't out yet. I only read like the first, not the first chapter, it was an extract provided in the newsletter. So I've read that and I absolutely loved it. When there was mention of the name escapes me now. There's some blue flowers, cornflowers. Yeah, when I read that, I was like, oh, this should be like a nostalgic book. And yeah, I was totally right about it after I finished reading it. When I went to the event, I was in the middle of reading To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper, and I had just finished the first part. If you've read the book already, because it's a really well-known book, it only took me about more than 25 years to read it, but I have finally read it, and now I know what the fuss is all about, why the book is so beloved. So yeah, I finished part one, and after I went to the event, Mr. David Nicholls' event, I had to read the book because I was like, oh, this is a recent book. I want to read this as soon as possible so I can leave a review, and especially after I met the author, I was like, oh, I have to read this, because unfortunately Harper Lee passed away and so many people know about To Kill a Mockingbird. So one review plus or minus probably wouldn't help that much, but yeah, a new book, it's always good to read it and post reviews, because it helps the author, especially if the author is alive, as in the case of Mr. David Nicholls. So I'll show you the book. I've got the hardcover edition, and I'll show you spine and the back cover. When I first saw the design, I was like, I can't really read it as well, but if you have it in person, it's a perfect design, and once you read the book, it's absolutely a wonderful design for the book. And I've got this signed. I'll show you I'll show you this. It's quite nice, isn't it? Let's see. It's a bit shiny in here. So yeah, and I'll show you. He signed it for me very kindly. I actually got 3 books of his, and 1 for a friend of mine and 2 for me. And I'll show you his signed it. It's so bright. Change the luminosity a bit. Yeah, you can see. He wrote the best wishes. So I read the first line of the book, Sweet Sorrow, and it's titled The End of the World. And the first line is this: the world would end on a Thursday at 5 to 4, immediately after the disco. This book is this book is about first love. It's about Shakespeare. I cried a few times reading this, and yeah, it was painful, happy, funny, painful, happy. It was a really wonderful book. I don't want to tell you too much about it because all these books, all these stories I've read recently and I want to share with you. I didn't know much about them, and I think that made the experience even more lovely. Not knowing much about it, I went into the text like completely fresh. Obviously about To Kill a Mockingbird, I heard about it several times and I had an idea what it was about. Actually, I knew there was something about race, racism and stuff like that, but I didn't know the plot at all. There was nothing, I didn't know about it. So it was a great experience not knowing about it and just going fully into the text and experiencing every single word, every phrase and teaching that had to offer. So with Sweet Sorrow, it's about Charlie Lewis. He's the main character, and the book is narrated from I think he's about 37-year-old, but he looks back on his childhood and how he met, let's say his first love, the one he remembers, the most important in his life. And yeah, it's not just about first love, it also deals with family issues and very important matters for me anyway. So that's why I said I cried a few times, because it really affected me in a positive way. I've been looking for a book like this to be written. I was considering writing something similar, not like this obviously. I'm not saying I was writing this story, but I was thinking to write a story about first love and those experiences, how they affect you and stuff like that. But reading this, it's an absolutely wonderful book. So funny, but yes, as I said, so painful for me anyway. And for this reason, I'm going to say I don't know if everyone is going to get this book the same way I did it, because everyone has different experiences, and I don't know if everyone will be affected in the same way, but I know many people will get this book. At least they will find themselves in smaller characters in the book, but I personally resonated with the main character a lot, even if he was, obviously he was a male and I'm a female, but his childhood was similar to mine in some respects. And yeah, it was just the way Mr. David Nicholls writes about those issues with such clarity, but like he portrayed that pain and those conflicts so well on the page. He's like, I think I even tweeted him. I said he's like my modern Fitzgerald, because if you know, I'm a huge Scott Fitzgerald fan, but yeah, unfortunately I can't ask Mr. Fitzgerald any questions because he's passed away several years now. But Mr. David Nicholls, he's alive, and for me he's like Mr. Fitzgerald, how I would imagine Fitzgerald would have been in his time. He was so kind and he was so warm at the event, so well spoken. I was just really blown away. I mean, not that I didn't expect it, but I have been to other events, not writers. I mean, I've been to other writer events, but like other creative people, and not if all of them were so warm. Some of them were really, you know what I mean. They feel like they've forgotten who they are or whatever. They just, I don't know. Mr. David Nicholls was really really kind. He answered all the questions the audience had. I got to ask him one question. It was actually the last question before he went to sign the books. And yeah, he spoke about his experiences adapting for the screen, because he wrote the script for Far From the Maddening Crowd with Carey Mulligan. I think it's by the book by Thomas Hardy. He adapted One Day, his novel, which he's probably most well known for. If you haven't read the book, you've probably seen the movie. It's a wonderful movie. It's a story about two people, how their relationship develops along 20 years. So yeah, he's also been awarded for adapting some books recently. I think it's called Patrick Melrose. Really dark. I was watching the trailer, and it's really dark stories, but again, really beautifully shot, and I don't know, it looks really good. I'm looking forward to watching that. So I was eager to learn from him and to see what he has to share with us. And as I said, he answered, and like the question I had to ask him, and the answer he gave, it just made me feel even better, because the answer he gave me, I think I asked him something to the effect that was the most difficult thing for him as a writer, like to make an outcome out with an outline, or to just write a story, or pick which story to write, something like that. And he kind of answered and not answered. I mean, he gave me a beautiful answer, but it wasn't like straightforward. But he basically said that, and it's something that I do, which really enforced my belief that I can be a better writer, He said that it's not like, oh, I sit at a desk like you see in the movies, and I smoke a cigarette, and I just write the end and that's it, or I stare at a blank page and not knowing what to write, or having failed beginnings and stuff like that. He said that's what he recommended to writers, to have like especially if you write on a computer, as most people do nowadays, to have like a project, to have like a folder in your computer, and just add bits and pieces for the story you're planning to write, different ideas that come to your head, maybe different phrases, and once you feel ready to add them in the story, to do that. And that's how he kind of builds a novel. That's what I understood anyway, and that's perfect, because that's kind of what I've been doing for the last 10 years. So it was really wonderful to hear that. So yeah, I was really happy about that, about going to that event. He's coming back to Manchester, I think in September or October. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go, but we'll see. So yeah, I've already told you some bits about the book. I shouldn't have. I said I won't, but I did. But yeah, it's just, I'll read you from the back. I read from like quotes. It says Nicholls writes with such tender precision about love, the times. There is a sharp, empathetic intelligence to his writing that makes his characters real, often dazzled with truth. Sad, funny, soulful, observer, and that's one thing I probably forgot to mention, that his story feels real. It's not, there's nothing cliche about it, although obviously there are some things that you find yourself in as you read about them, and you're, oh, that's such a cliche, but it's not. Is it really a cliche if that happened to you? And he portrayed them really well on the page. It's not a cliche. It was actually mentioned in the book, something about literally. It's quite funny, and like how first lovers act with each other once they get more comfortable and stuff like that. So yeah, a few more quotes about his writing in his book. Few pleasures in life compared to a David Nicholls novel, and this is his best yet. Donald Ryan. Everything a story should be, beautiful and clear and heartfelt. Jonah Cannon. He's such a genius. His novels are relatable and recognizable, but also surprising, breathtaking, and life-enhancing. Nina Stib. Nicholls' ability to create and then subvert the traditional plot for comedy is the secret of his success. It makes us confront the gap between what we expect from storytelling and what happens in real life. Spectator. So yeah, if you wanna have one more look at the beautiful cover. This version of the book has about 400 pages, almost like 395. So yeah, I was planning to talk briefly about the book, but anyway, in short, I loved it and you should read it. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I'll try to talk briefly about this one because many people know about it. So Harper Lee, I'll read the first line. This is the copy I have. It's very simple design. It's a small book, but a lot that's packed in this book. This version I have is a little over 300 pages, and I am looking forward to reading Go Set a Watchman, which is the second book by Harper Lee, but I think I'm going to leave a little bit of time to pass, because from what I understand that book is written from like 26-year-old Scout, and Scout in this book was like 8, 9, 10. So yeah, I just want to let a little bit of time to pass. And I'll read the first line. When he was nearly 13, my brother Jem got his arm badly broken at the elbow. So the book essentially, I mean, there's so many things about taking place in this book, so many issues that are approached, but the protagonist of the book is narrated by Scout, and she's the daughter of a lawyer. And what's amazing about this book, because the narrator is supposed to be very young, and she's a very intelligent person and very warm, and you get to see the world. I think the action was taking place after the First World War in the 1930s, maybe. Yeah, something like that. And it's really interesting to see how the world is seen through the eyes of a child, basically, and how people are such hypocrites. I'll read it from the back, because yeah, I'm gonna drag on talking about it. Shoot all the blue jays you want if you can't hit them, but remember it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. This is a line from the book, and it's actually, I think it's mentioned twice. Second time is towards the end. I mean, it's not the same line, but similar to this effect is mentioned towards the end of the book, when something really, the culminating moment in the book happens. So the book is a lawyer's advice to his children as he defends the real mockingbird of this enchanting classic, a black man charged with the rape of a white girl. Through the young eyes of Scout and Jem Finch, Harper Lee explores with exuberant humor the irrationality of adult attitudes to race and class in the deep south of the 30s. The constituents of a town steeped in prejudice, violence, and hypocrisy is pricked by the stamina of one man's struggle for justice, but the weight of history will only tolerate so much. To Kill a Mockingbird. Someone rare has written this very fine novel, a writer with the liveliest sense of life and the warmest, most authentic humor. A touching book, and so funny, so likable. This quote that I just mentioned is by Truman Capote, who wrote In Cold Blood. I have not read that book. I've tried reading it, but I found the style a bit difficult, but I really liked loved the movie. It was with Philip Seymour. I think his name was Philip Seymour. Passed away a couple of years ago. He played Truman Capote beautifully, and yeah, I think that's a beautiful quote by Truman Capote for this book. It's Pulitzer Prize winner, over 30,000 books sold, as you can see on the cover at the time of publishing this book. I loved so many things about this book. It wasn't boring. It's the kind of book, it's rare, you don't find very often. Like there was nothing in the book that I found boring, or I thought, I should skip over this bit because it's boring, or it's just dragging on, too much description or whatever. I think if I'll read you one line. I know it by mind, but I don't want to get it wrong. I wouldn't spoil too much. I wouldn't spoil the book, really, I think. Should I share it with you or not? But okay, I won't share the line, but it's basically what Atticus Finch, the father of Scout, says towards the end, when she says something that she was talking about a story she read, and actually the story it's very similar to what happens in this book, about a certain character, and she says it's very nice, he's really nice. She was talking, she was sleepy, she was getting ready to go to bed, and she was just about to fall asleep, and she was mumbling and saying, he was really nice man. And her father says, most people are, Scout, when you fully see them. Yeah, I think that's the line. Most people are, Scout, when you finally see them. And there's a few more lines after that, like three lines, and that's the end of the book. But yeah, I thought it was really beautiful. Again, I'm dragging about this, so you should just go and read it. I can totally understand now why this book is so much loved. It even has romance to a certain degree. It has social issues, very important social issues that are still valid to this point, unfortunately. And I don't know, once you read it, you understand why this book is so beloved. I could talk about it for ages, but the only way to know for yourself, to know if you're gonna love this book, is to read it. And yeah, you should read it. Because I've been told about it for ages, and I was like, yeah, I'll read it someday. But I'm the kind of person who it's a classic, I don't want to read what everyone's reading, but there is a reason why books are classics. So leaving To Kill a Mockingbird behind for now, I'll share one more book. It's not really a book, it's a short story, and I've actually helped the author design the cover, the ebook cover, and yeah, I'm really happy to share it with you.